Hey y'all, it's your girl Gemini Jazz, and we are back with another video. And today we are going to be discussing Chiron through all 12 zodiac signs. Okay, so first and foremost, before we dive into all of this good stuff about Chiron, because we have lots of things to discuss when it comes to Chiron. It's such a deep and mysterious energy to kind of navigate. Okay, but before we get into all of that, I'd just like to say thank you for being here. If you are new to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you for being here. I hope things have been going well on your end and all that good stuff. And I don't have any announcements outside of what I always, kind of suggest. But if you are looking to dive more into what we're going to talk about in this video and get readings or more insight individually on your chart, hit the description box below because I have all of my contact information, my website, my social platforms, so on and so forth. And you can access me and all of my services, including my membership, the Celestial City, that is only $33.33 per month, as well as the readings that I have available at this time. Okay, so now let's dive into this video about Chiron in the signs. So Chiron, what is Chiron, right? Chiron is an asteroid, and we all know about that, right? It's an asteroid, it's not a planet, and it's often referred to as the wounded healer, right? Chiron is connected to our deepest wounds, right? The knowledge and also the healing that comes along with that. So, the self-healers, we all have that ability to heal ourselves. We all have the ability to know what these wounds and whatnot are stemming from. We just have to tap in. So Chiron is utilized in astrology to show us where our emotional baggage is, so to speak. So the lesson that Chiron evolves basically is the ways that we recognize and deal with our deepest wounds, right? Or sometimes how we don't deal with our deepest wounds. And a lot of that comes from our earliest encounters with life, with people, our relating experiences, right? Memories and things that are taught to be hidden, right? Because they are basically deemed unpleasant or not good or harmful or painful. And so therefore they must then be unacceptable. And so because of these energies, this is where emotions like guilt and shame, abandonment, low self-esteem, low self-worth, fears about being rejected, unworthiness, all of these things come into play because of how society deems certain emotions and certain encounters with life to be unacceptable. Now, wherever Chiron falls in our birth chart, preferably by sign, right? First and foremost, you got to recognize the sign, which is why this video is here. So recognize what sign Chiron is, and then you take into account the house placement. Where is Chiron in your house? Like with the first house, second house, eighth house, wherever, because then that gives it a different flavor to what's happening with Chiron being in, just say, Aries, or Chiron in Virgo, so on and so forth. So once you take into account the sign, as well as the house placement, then you have to pay attention to the aspects that it forms with other planets and other houses and whatnot in your chart. So you can recognize by seeing all these things, the area in which we feel vulnerable or quote unquote weak, or these things that might really evoke feelings of low self-esteem and low self-worth that we were previously speaking about. Okay, so Chiron's placement, in turn, what it does is it shines a light on our past hurts, our wounds, things, even such as like childhood trauma, all of those experiences, those ill experiences, from previous, things, even maybe in past life type of situations, depending on where it falls in your chart, right? So this is what we like to call emotional baggage, right? So this is what it's doing is shining a light, so to speak, or revealing, how our repeated interactions with others or with the world, excuse me, with the world, so to speak, will provoke our insecurities, and maybe even, you know, what we deem as being failures. So there's also an option, right? This is where that quote unquote free will comes in, because although it's revealing it, we still have to make a choice to see it, right? So that's kind of where that line goes in between that Chiron energy. Chiron's purpose is to make us realize that our weak spots are not feelings that we can erase or disregard, rather than they are something that need to be embraced. They cannot necessarily be denied, right? We cannot just say, you know, this terrible thing that I feel about myself needs to be ignored, because it only amplifies more of that emotion, more of that feeling, right? So let's think of it this way. Take peekaboo, the game peekaboo, for example. Just because you're covering your eyes, it does not mean the person or the thing on the other side of your hand does not exist. You're simply choosing not to see it. So that's the way that we can see Chiron. Chiron gives us an opportunity to recognize that there's something still on the other side of what we can't see. We have to literally just make the choice to pull our hands down and say, I see this for what this is. Now, what are we going to do about it? Facing your fears, facing those insecurities and those feelings of guilt and shame and whatnot. Okay, so if we forget the experience, right, this is how we think. If we forget the experience itself, then our bodies and minds will forget it also. No, that's not the truth, right? Our bodies and minds will still contain that feeling, right, as a sensory or a trace memory. And if you have not read the book, The Body Holds the Number, it goes into more detail about this on a psychological aspect of things, okay? So now, how do we use Chiron for our growth and our gain, right? So all these feelings of shame and guilt and all these low vibrational emotions that we're speaking about, right? But how can we in turn transmute that energy and turn the pain into purpose, right? And making that purpose, or making that all of that lucrative for us and even pleasurable, right? So Chiron's cycle of reoccurrence, basically, Chiron, what it does in turn, it creates these situations, right, in life, these circumstances in life that's going to trigger us. But in turn, the reward comes from Chiron when we learn to integrate our painful experiences, allowing these triggers to invite us to navigate why we're being triggered, where this is stemming from, how can we grow through this, right? And integrate these experiences as a part of our identities, right? So this is turning that pain into purpose and also pleasure. Right. So, but keep in mind that as long as we continue to view these imperfections that need to be removed or purged from us, then we'll continue to see them as flaws in others as well as ourselves, right? Because it's all about mirroring. Every situation and every person in our life is mirroring some aspect of ourselves, right? So, this is going to continue to impact our capacity for relationships and mutual understanding of others if we continue to see Chiron, or continue to see our wounds or these feelings that we have, our insecurities, as flaws, so to speak, okay, instead of using them to empower us to actually help heal other people. So now, without further ado, let's start navigating Chiron through the signs. Hey y'all, so today we're going to cover Chiron in the sign of Cancer. So Chiron in Cancer, if you have this placement, you may have issues with feeling safe and secure, and it stems from some type of trauma or wound that happened when, you know, something between you and your mom, your influence, or the mother's influence, so to speak. It has a lot to do with your roots and your lineage. So typically, people with Chiron and Cancer have some type of family karma that they're having to play out or undo, some generational trauma, so to speak, that they're having to work through and navigate and heal. You will find that these people with this placement tend to feel as though they have the weight of their entire family and their healing on their shoulders. Okay, so there's been a constant struggle from childhood, and potentially with the mother archetypes in these individual lives, right? So they may have issues with feeling or feeling safe around, you know, feminine influences, right? Influential women, maybe their own moms or just other type of motherly influences. So from this, an issue with finding where they belong, or feeling as though They don't belong anywhere because Cancer rules the home, right? So you don't feel at home anywhere until you actually work through and navigate this healing that's necessary for you to understand home is always with you. Home is within you. You are home to yourself, right? And so these people tend to have they have a tendency to throw out their own needs, right, in order to feel like they belong. So it's kind of like negating what they need, negating what they desire, their own sense of safety and security. They kind of like, letting go their creature comforts, so to speak, right? Because Cancer rules comforts and things of that nature. So it's what makes you feel at home, makes you feel safe. And so they tend to get rid of that or let that go or release that in order to appease other people, right? So especially it has a lot to do with motherly influences, right? So they may have experienced painful family dynamics as a child. People with displacement also show that karma from their ancestors is being carried through them. And so as they heal themselves, typically these people end up healing their lineage before them and the lineage after them, right? The people that are coming before and or came before and will soon come thereafter. So, a bit of advice is to heal, if you have this placement, is to heal yourself by helping others find their sense of belonging and at home. Help them understand what's going to bring them a sense of comfort and safety and security. Doing things such as like a doula, or literally finding someone a home. You can be a realtor. People with displacement tend to have not had a stable home environment, or they've felt a power struggle or a power dynamic when it comes to their own mom. Okay, so you can even become like a foster parent, things of that nature. You'll see people with these placements turn out to be like that. And so with Chiron and Cancer, the wound is really the emotions and the ability to feel love no matter where they are and who they are, how they manifest their lives. And so people with this, typically the energy manifests in a few ways, one of which is feeling unloved and abandoned. They also can't find the nurturing that they need because there was some type of lack. Maybe they had like a very distant or cold mother growing up, or mother figure in their lives. You will find people with displacement may have even been in foster care and it wasn't a happy home type of environment. Okay. Also, this can manifest in ways where the fear that these people, they fear that they don't deserve love. So their fear is wrapped around not being loved, not being valued, not feeling safe within a loving or supported space, even if it's not necessarily true. They might perceive it as such. And also, they perceive that the world is not supportive in general. It's kind of like their whole worldview is their perspective and the influence, their environments are just not what they should be. They don't perceive it as being a safe environment for them no matter where they are. Excuse me. So also these people feel an inner emptiness or loneliness, like a sense of something that's like missing. They're missing something. They also have a tendency to sabotage relationships or smother other people with too much attention because they are negating their own feelings. They are negating giving themselves that attention. Also, they have a thing where they rescue lost souls, right? It's kind of the if you follow African spirituality or the Yoruba, it's kind of like what is the word? Well, Anubis, first and foremost, go to Egyptian mythology. So Anubis was already the god of lost souls, and so if you do Yoruba, think about Yemaya and how the story of Yemaya, where the slaves are thrown off the ship and she rescued those souls. She kept those souls. She nurtured those souls, and that's all Cancer energy. Is water energy. So these people have a tendency of rescuing lost souls, bringing them back to where they find themselves. And that is also another form of healing. So you might see that these people really help with if they're not actual doulas bringing life into the world, they are actually helping people transition, right? So they can be death doulas even. but they have a knack for helping women, helping women navigate their own healing, finding themselves, and so on and so forth. So you'll see people with this placement being like into women empowerment, things of that nature also, but not on the level of like the masculine side of women empowerment. It's more so women empowerment in like femininity, that kind of energy. So they can be rescuing these lost souls, because these lost souls are also, they share an experience with them of feeling unloved and abandoned. So it's very resonant to them. They resonate with these people, and so they know exactly what these people need, how they can navigate back to themselves and finding themselves. So also, you will see that these people can be very gentle and peaceful in their approach. And that's like operating at its highest octave, I guess you can say. And alternatively, what they can do is do emotional manipulation, where they lie and cheat in order to get the love that they want, because they feel like they have to do those things in order to get it, because they don't deserve it unless they manipulate their way to get it. Um, Also, people with this placement may have like psychosomatic illnesses. So that might be something that comes up. And if that is something that you are experiencing, make sure you pay attention to where Chiron and Cancer is happening in your chart, what aspects are happening with that, and always seek therapy. Go speak to a psychologist or a therapist. Okay. So also your healing journey, if you have this placement, your healing journey involves the search for the, excuse me, the archetypal mother. So if you know about Carl Jung and the different archetypes and all that kind of stuff, you can read on that, find a couple of books on Carl Jung and his theory of the archetypes. And so they are always in search for that archetype of the mother, right? The source of love within themselves is what they really are searching for. And that is the gift that they receive once they recognize that true home is found within. And so you'll see that these people with displacement, they find the love that they need when they stop judging themselves, when they, stop repeating the narratives of what they've heard or what they've experienced from that mother energy in their lives. So the way that they feel about others really, the way that they feel about themselves is really a reflection on how like they feel about uh, others, right? So if they are feeling certain type of way about themselves, it's always going to manifest in someone else, and you can recognize it based on their speech, their communication, how they're talking about the other individuals. And it's always an invitation to recognize what's going on within them, because just like Cancer energy, right, is water, it's always reflective. Okay. And so when these people turn inward, they can learn to love themselves by discovering that they already have what they need. They already have what they are in search for. Love is always there, and love is everywhere that they are. They are, the epitome of that motherly, nurturing love, right? They are home. So and that's that. But also understand that the strength, right? The strength comes from finding the roots. Once you start tapping into your ancestry and understanding like your ancestors, your family lineage, that might also be something that kind of is a healing experience, right? It not only is healing yourself, but it's healing your family as well. These people tend to be very sensitive to the suffering of others, so very empathic individuals. And when you're so strong in your own center with this energy, once you tap into that, people can find it easy to share their feelings with you, because you nourish them emotionally. So you'll see that, because you're an empath, and you're an empath with boundaries. On top of that, people will come and try and do that, but it's very important that people with Chiron and Cancer to establish healthy boundaries, because it's very easy for people to reflect themselves in your water. That's the best way I can say it. Okay. Chiron and Cancer typically have a strong nurturing side to them, strong nurturing abilities. They make wonderful moms. Once they tap into that energy, hopefully, because there's always an opposite of how it can manifest, right? Where they can be the opposite of the nurturing kind of energy, that Chiron placement, depending on how it's aspected and where it sits in your chart, it can manifest in the opposite, where you're not nurturing, very manipulative and things of that nature. So That's always a possibility, because the Chiron energy is for us to, like I mentioned previously, that is for us to recognize it. If we are self-aware and we choose to recognize that it's there and we choose to work on those things, then that's when the healing can really begin for us. Okay. Also, those strong nurturing abilities allow these people to accept others as well as themselves, right? When they are most vulnerable, they can appreciate vulnerability. Also, the people with displacement, with the well-developed connection to their inner world, right? Their emotions, their feelings, feeling the feeling, right? So you can actually heal. They are able to heal others by intuitively understanding what other people need. So it's kind of like having that strong emotional intelligence. Once they are developed in that connection with themselves, they have like this really strong emotional intelligence to where they can sympathize and empathize with, it goes beyond sympathy, and that in its own is very healing and nurturing to others. Okay, so that is all that I have for Chiron in Cancer. I hope this is beneficial and helpful for you. If you are looking to navigate your Chiron placement a little deeper, feel free to hit that description box below and navigate to my website and book a reading. Okay. Also, you can get the Chiron candles. You can join the membership and all those other things. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this video and all the wonderful things that I'll be posting and whatnot. All right. So have a wonderful, wonderful day.